Steven and Larry, and we're talking Swish.
Welcome back, everyone, for another special week that is Talking Swish. Larry here, as always, along with my co-partners, Dewey and Steven. Guys, how are we doing?
Good, man. It's been doing a lot of drafting this week, actually. Drafting the new set, trying to build up my collection on Arena again. We've been pretty busy as a team. We started doing some live recordings this week at our FNMs, our local FNMs. So that was pretty sweet. We're going to be doing some recording this weekend, actually, of our local 2K at Galactic Toys and Games in Kentwood, Michigan. So if anyone's interested and wants to come out to that, they should. It's going to be a good time. I will be playing this event, but you will be commentating, Larry, and Andrew Wolthice will be commentating, so that's pretty cool.
Also known as Heisenberg.
Yep, also known as Heisenberg, brother of Noah Heisenberg, whom is also on our team.
Our brothers?
Yeah, but funny,
according to Larry, they are.
But funny enough, Noah doesn't even like Andrew, according to our interview with him.
I mean, that's, brothers sometimes don't like each other, so it makes
sense.
They fight. They get annoyed with each other for sure. But that was really the whole stuff we're doing with the recording has been awesome. I'm looking forward to continuing that. Drafting's been sweet. It's been a little annoying that you've got 3 or 4 LSVs in every draft now that are just trying to force blue-black every single time, because LSV on limited resources this week did like a deep dive into only blue-black as an archetype rather than the whole format of archetypes, which is what they usually do. And he did a stream where he forced blue-black 20 drafts in a row or some nonsense. So now you've just got people doing that in your average drafts, which obviously kind of makes the drafting process a little awkward when you've got 3 or 4 people just trying to force an archetype and not taking cards they should be. But it leaves other archetypes wide open, which is nice. So you just have to try and identify that. But no, that's what I've been doing this week. How about you, Dewey?
Oh, dude. Great weekend. We went to Maryland for the Legacy event. It was a blast. Absolute amazing weekend. I didn't even do well in the event. Did pretty okay for still getting familiar with Legacy. But man, that hotel experience was probably one of the absolute worst hotel experiences we've ever had. It was bad enough that the Legacy Pit said they'll actually never have an event at that hotel again either. Which was crazy. It's been quite some time since I've seen an event organizer say we're never going to use someone again. But got amazing seafood. Checked out Frederick, Maryland, which was wonderful. I got to travel with Larry and Brandon, which was great. Larry drove the entire time there and back so I could work. And then we just got to jam Magic all weekend. So
that's fun. That's good.
Yep, I think it was a great weekend. The hotel was something else, to say the least, as Dewey mentioned. That's a whole debacle in its own.
Oh.
And something we got out of this Legacy event, too, is we may be starting a new series here pretty soon, where we I guess debunk matchups that maybe some teammates don't agree 100% with. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Larry?
Yeah, we're gonna just do some series. We're gonna, I don't know what we want to really call it right now. Pretty much, we have one teammate that he's very, very dedicated to the Reddit world, we'll say the least, and he believes that the Reddit community knows more than pros. So we're just gonna go and put it to the test.
Yeah, for those listening, basically one of our teammates believes that Death and Taxes in Legacy is, what was his opinion, slightly favored versus Reanimator?
No, it wasn't slightly, but
okay,
he thinks it's favored against Reanimator. Where
fair enough. He thinks it's favored against Reanimator.
I felt it was, and I'm not an expert at Legacy, and I'm not going to try to pretend like I am. So I actually
Yeah.
researched out to a few of the guys that I won't say I'm like good friends with, but that I knew, and I even talked to Maps and stuff about it. And I was like,
Yep.
so went, and I was told that like they reassured me as I already thought the matchup wasn't great.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's not
It
favorite.
seems tough to me. I don't know much about it either, but it just on paper, I mean, it seems kind of rough. I mean, it's
Yeah.
What Reanimator does is very devastating if they do their thing. And anyway, well, like we said, I just wanted to kind of give people a little preview into that. That'll be an interesting little series we're going to start up here pretty soon. Was kind of one of the more I guess funny things to me that was going on over the weekend for you guys was when you guys were in the Discord having this conversation
Yeah.
or argument or
So
whatever you call it.
people were asking me because I was putting some long defenses in there, and
Yeah.
I'll tell everyone on the air, just like I've told many people that has asked me this week. You have a lot of time when you get turn one, both game 1 and 2. I didn't really have much else going on.
Weird. Weird.
Um,
Wonder where this came from.
So since I was getting turn 1 both games, and then I ended up getting demolished by 8 Walla, I had some time to reflect and think about it. This wasn't an opinion about 8 Walla. I have no idea if the 8 Walla matchup's good. It feels a
Right.
little awkward because they're doing
Yeah.
everything on turn 1 where you don't get to
Yep.
really do anything. And
Yep.
it's even more like difficult, right? Because they're playing cards, for example, you're playing things like Deafening Silence, but all they're doing is playing creatures. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything about that. So,
Yeah, very awkward.
yeah, very awkward. And it's a Yorion deck, you know. The variance is going to be a little bit higher in those decks
Yep.
because you're asking, even though I've had some people tell me as the variance doesn't really change, where I don't
Well,
agree
and
with
that's
that.
the other thing. Is outside of like whether or not someone thinks it's a good matchup or not, this also is going to put to test to some extent the conversation of does an 80 card deck with Yorion increase or decrease the versatility and the applicability of a sideboard?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So
And I'm on the firm belief that it change. I won't say it changes like where it's like, oh, you have like a 50% less chance to draw it or something. I haven't ran the numbers on that by any means, but I just know that obviously based off first assumption, I'm assuming the variance is going to be worse, that you're going to draw that one of sideboard card
Well, yeah, of
compared to
course.
if
I
you
mean,
get to
that's just
60.
math. Yeah.
I've been told I'm wrong, but
Well, yeah,
here we are.
that's fine. That's we'll get into that in the series, I'm
Yep.
sure. But
And we'll
just
also have
a
him on the
little intro for
podcast
people
next
here.
week. Just so put that little heads up. We're gonna bring that teammate of ours that, and he's gonna be able to defend himself, and we're gonna go
Yep.
through it all. We're gonna go through things correctly because I want him to be able to defend what he believes, and
Yeah,
I
of
want
course,
to be
yeah.
able to defend what I believe, and I can't wait to prove how he's wrong. But moving on.
Yeah.
No, but it should be a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Some nice little current events in Magic. They did announce a I'm talking about. I'm trying to put Las Vegas and Legacy in the same word.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's restart. What we're going to talk about is Channel Fireball is announced 225K events they're going to be holding in Las Vegas.
Wonderful.
They are going to be requiring vaccination and proof of test if you don't have a vaccination, and the test has to be within 48 hours, I believe, what I was reading earlier.
Okay.
And it cannot be an at-home test. So those that want to go and you don't want to get the vaccine, that is your right. But just also know that is the promoter's right to say you can't play in their event
Yeah.
unless you get a test to try to protect all of their players.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a correct call. I personally, if I had to make a decision, I think at this point, I think it should just be all vaccinations requirements at this point. We had a scare over at the Legacy Pit event, as many people that listen probably already are aware. Somebody did find out that they got COVID either there or they got it somewhere else, and they were at the event. So, in result, they had to let every player know. It's just the nature that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
I think personally that it should just all be like requirements of vaccinations at this point. It's been plenty of time. But I am glad that Channel Fireball is going to be enforcing the vaccination or the test. And then for people that are going to Sdg Con, they actually changed their stance. They were originally only mask requirements. They are also going to be doing that as well. There's a lot of rumbling in the grapevines, I guess you can call it, that they're only doing it because one, Channel Fireball is doing it, and two, people were having an outcry on not an outcry like crying in a way, but more expressing their opinions on their decision not to be mandating.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I think it's a good call for them. In addition to that, they announced that they're not doing any coverage for Sdg Con.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Really?
they're not doing any coverage, which is so weird to me.
Why?
I don't understand that.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Yep.
Maybe Swish will have to go live on location at it.
I wonder if they would let us.
We're ready.
probably
We are
would-
ready.
They
Oh,
probably would
I don't
not
think
let
we
us,
are, but that's
but
not. I
if
don't
you-
know. They let people sign up to be the media. If they're
I
not
have
doing
no idea.
coverage, there's a world where if we asked them, I have a firm belief there is never a wrong question. Like if they say no, what do we lose?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, that's very true. It's something maybe we should look into for sure.
Yeah, if they're not gonna do coverage, I'll be willing to send an email and be like, "Hey guys, it won't be your level of coverage, cause come on now."
Yeah.
Calm
we
down.
did our first one this week. We're learning.
Yeah, it's all small steps to the finish line, right? And we ain't close.
Yeah.
Like they just shot the gun off in the air. The race just started.
And we're like, hey, were we supposed to go?
Right?
I really, that is very strange though that
Yeah.
they are not doing that. I don't understand that really at all. to
I'm
be
not.
honest.
I don't really understand. Hopefully, I'm confident. Not really confident, but confident in my hope. I should say that they're going to change their mind and they're going to do coverage because that's like the
I
best
agree.
part, right?
Well, what if the reason they're not doing coverage is the people that they want to reach out to aren't comfortable doing it?
That's possible, I guess. Yeah.
That's
It's the only thing I can think of.
yeah. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure, and I just know it should still be a good event. I think people should go. If you don't like any of the requirements, obviously you don't have to go. But I think those that are going to take part of it, that it'll be a good event. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
And just an update. I know about a month or so ago we did an episode on Inside Esports. I just want to update people. I still have not been paid.
That's great.
You're gonna drop another factoid.
Me either, actually, technically.
Just wanted to throw
goodness.
that out there really quick. Still unpaid. Still eating
Are they-
ramen noodles.
Is there a class action lawsuit yet?
I'm waiting for the commercial. Have you or somebody you know played for Inside Esports on MTG Melee? And that's where it's all going to begin, guys.
You may be entitled to compensation.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk a little bit about this weekend. Before we get on to our main topic, we're going to be doing there's a Modern 2K, as Steven preluded a little bit earlier, that's going to be held at Galactic Toys and Games here in Kentwood, Michigan, which is essentially Grand Rapids for those that aren't too familiar with Kentwood. So if you're in the Michigan or maybe some of the northern Indiana area, I would highly recommend coming to this event. It's going to be a good time. We are doing a series where it's called Swish on Location. It's where we're going to start recording Paper Magic in tournaments, like we did one this past Monday. Steven calls it F&M for some odd reason. But it's up on the YouTube now, so I definitely recommend go checking that out. We had some technical difficulties, so some of the cards had some issues seeing them. We had to add commentary later, me and Steven. But that was our first event. We expected some of those things to happen. Last night we actually did a little test run on Twitch. And me and fellow partner Andrew, who's going to be commentating, we were making sure we can get everything out of the way. We're going to be doing again tomorrow evening. where we're going to be getting ready for Saturday. And Saturday, we should be starting the live view. Airing will be going on at 10:30. 10:30, yes, because the
Very
event
cool.
starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, that's the plan for there. That's at least my plan. Steven, you said you're going to be playing, and you said you're going to be
yes.
playing Elementals.
I am going to be playing Elementals. It's going to be close to Canister's recent list. I'm actually going to take. There was a guy. Don't remember his name. I would have to. But I saw a list on Twitter today that I liked pretty well. I made like one or two card changes, but for the most part, I'm going to roll with that list. Everybody seems to be on this 23 land train, so I'm going to hop on it, even though I'm a little nervous about it because most of my losses have actually been to missing land drops in that deck. So I'm a little nervous about cutting a land, but it seems like everyone's on the train of doing that. So I'll do that too, and we'll see how it works.
Most definitely. And Dewey's taking the weekend off. He has some personal engagements he has to go do, which is fine. We just went on a trip to Maryland. He isn't a psychopath like me, where I come back from Vegas and go to Maryland 3 days later.
I do have to pace myself a little bit so the missus doesn't hate me. So
Understandable. I'm actually gonna be probably taking after like these next few events. I'm gonna take a little hiatus from competitive Magic myself. I'm gonna be starting a new personal work position outside of Magic, so I'm gonna be focusing on that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That comes Monday, but we do have some events in the near future. I know I'm going to Cincinnati still. That is still locked. That's gonna be for Flesh and Blood. I know I also, in addition to that, we have Sdg Con, and then we have the NRG tournament the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
That's the current plan for that. That should be pretty fun.
Oh, I do have the local 1K at Upkeep Games in Howell.
Oh, yep, you do have that. Yep.
Yep, so I'm going to take this weekend off, next weekend off, then I got the 1K, take
Nice.
a weekend or two off, then SCG Con. So it'll be a good time.
Yep. And when I decide to transition away from like doing the competitive side, that's just when I say competitive side, I'm talking about for the traveling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I'm going to transition back over to playing more online.
Okay.
I'm going to try to take advantage of more challenges and stuff like that, and it's also going to create more content for the YouTube page and for some Twitch stuff. But Twitch playing challenges is a little more difficult because, I don't want people seeing what I'm doing in my life. But we'll see. That's my current plan. We'll see what the events look like after the new year and go from there. But we also got to see where Magic's going to be looking like in the next month or so. Because who knows? Maybe we'll get some bans. You never know. You never know. And
What a great segue.
Yeah, we're here to talk about the cards that are currently banned and why we should be unbanning cards like Astrolabe. But we all agreed on it last week. We don't need to go and re-talk about it. Today we're to talk about the rest of the cards.
Viewers need to go check out that list.
Whoa.
I hate Astrolabe, viewers. One of the worst cards ever printed, in my opinion. You can go listen to me complain about it on that one if you'd like. I'm not going to go into detail anymore, but I hate that card.
You're listening to this episode, people. You don't have to go back and listen to the episode 2 weeks ago. I can fill you in. I'll fill in the blanks. They want to change their mind now, but they loved Astrolabe 2 weeks ago. It's fine.
What world do you live in?
Listen, I am here to speak the truth. I am giving honest journalism.
It's recorded.
What are you talking about? I am just rehashing and saying exactly everything y'all said verbatim. Verbatim was, I love Astrolabe, I miss it. You did actually, Dewey, say you liked Astrolabe.
I did. I also said it should be banned.
No, I don't remember that part. I just remember the I like Astrolabe part.
Selective memory.
This might be slightly true. Slightly.
Okay.
But no, today we're going to talk about some of the cards. Just some a little forewarning for those that did listen to our episode a couple weeks ago. that was 2 weeks ago. We spent and did a 3-hour show last week of all the previews of the upcoming cards.
Yep.
So we might be a little jumbled right now where we might talk about cards we already mentioned. We apologize in advance if we do. I think we have it on track where we're not going to repeat any cards, but if we do, well, you get to hear about it again. It'll be a good time. We will be finishing off the modern list tonight. As we mentioned, next week we're going to have Adam Love on, a fellow teammate. We're going to be talking about some of the Yorion Taxes matchups and things like that for Legacy. It's going to be more of a Legacy talk. And then we're probably going to start the Legacy ban list.
Makes a lot of sense.
I figure we'll go ahead and knock that out the way. Talk about some good old Legacy. And who knows, maybe we'll even we'll have Adam on for 2 episodes and we'll let him talk to us about the Legacy ban since he plays a little more. Let's get his opinion on it too. Just so we can argue and prove that I'm right there too. But let's talk about all jokes aside, we're gonna jump into this modern ban list. We're gonna start with a card. I like this card. I played it in Death Shadow, but this is Gataxian Probe.
Oh my god.
So this card is a 1 blue Phyrexian mana. For those that don't know what Phyrexian mana is, it was a super sweet mechanic that they should bring back. It lets you pay life instead of paying for its mana cost. So in this circumstance, instead of paying the 1 blue, you can just pay 2 life to cast this. All it does, it's a sorcery. All it does is look at your player's hand. You don't remove a card or anything, and you draw a card. It's just a cantrip that doesn't really do much. Wasn't very good.
Doesn't do much.
I'm on the unban wagon.
Steven.
Okay, well, I am very much against the unban wagon. I hate Gataxian Probe. I definitely hate Gataxian Probe a little more than Astrolabe. Not much more than Astrolabe, but a little bit more. The card's just very, very stupid for a lot of reasons. First of all, free spells and Magic just typically are awful. They're just not great for the game. And the fact that Probe just gave you perfect information about what your opponent was doing made it just like such an insanely good card in like a lot of like combo oriented decks. It was insane in Infect because you just didn't even have to think if your opponent had an answer or not. You just knew, and it was free. You didn't even have to pay mana to figure anything out. You just, I'll just pay some life. Let's see what my opponent has. Let's draw a card so it replaces itself. That was just pretty much free information entirely. It was really good in decks like Storm too. It was very, very strong in Storm. But yeah, this was just a disgustingly dumb card in my opinion, and I definitely think it should stay banned. Duy.
100% agree. If I could go as far as lumping this with Mental Misstep, Mental Misstep has its own reasons as well. But once again, the free spell. Jit Pro basically said every deck is now a 56 card deck.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Every deck. It didn't matter. And it didn't do anything for Magic. I have no idea why they thought that would be an okay card. In my mind at all. Like, everybody's happy to pay 2 life to replace itself and look at your opponent's hand. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It'd be a different conversation because this was based off Peak, right?
Yeah.
Where it was 1 blue. So like, if you want to make it like a colorless and then a Phyrexian mana, sure, and have it do something else, but completely free, absolutely not.
Okay, I'm going to chime in really quick. It wasn't in every deck in that format. Not even close.
Right. All the good decks were playing it, and all the bad decks weren't.
I wouldn't go that far. That's a stretch. But there were definitely some good decks that were playing it. Like, Infect was probably the number 1 on the list.
It was. Yeah, I know. I'm aware that not every deck was playing it, but the overwhelming majority did play it, and it caused more issues than it ever, trying to solve. I don't know. I don't know what it was trying to solve, but it just caused a lot of issues. So I'm very happy that's banned. It's banned in Modern and Vintage and Legacy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. to speak to its, or restricted in Vintage, to speak to its power here, just for Modern,
Yeah.
it's banned in the other Eternal formats forever, to the extent it can be. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was a typo.
Oh, it's a typo.
Yeah, they were
Must
trying to
have been,
ban
yeah.
something else, and they accidentally wrote Gataxian Probe, so they had to go with the save face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said, I personally like it because I wish Infect was a better deck. Even though, funny enough, I've never played Infect in my life, and I've lost to it more than I've won. I like
Really?
Infect being in the format. I really do.
Why?
What? I think it's a cool deck. I think it's a really cool strategy. But back when Infect was actually playable during Gataxian Probe times, because don't be mistaken, when the little moments where it got scale up and stuff, people thought it was playable, but it really wasn't.
It was for those tournaments.
Yeah, whatever helps you sleep at night. But I like it being one of the top players in the format. That's just my first opinion. But while we're talking about these Phyrexian Mana spells, we'll go ahead and talk about Mental Misstep as well.
Fair.
And I'll chime in. I'll let you guys chime in on the Mental Misstep in a moment. But this is the same one. It has the same cost. The only difference is an instant that says counter spell target spell that's converted mana cost 1. Bet y'all wish you had this right now with Ragavans.
No, I wouldn't, because Ragavan decks would just play 4 of them as well.
Yeah. Metal Misstep may potentially have been one of the most format warping cards ever. I know it got banned like quite quickly, if I remember correctly. I was pretty new to Magic at this point, actually. But Misstep, I think, got banned within like a month or month and a half, maybe 2 months. But it was not legal long. And it was literally, I mean, Legacy was what Dewey was saying about Gataxian Probe earlier, which was a bit of exaggeration. Literally, Mental Misstep was a 4 of in like every single Legacy deck, like literally every single one. D&T 4, like Burn 4, Sneak and Show 4, like Delver 4, for everything, because it countered other Mental Missteps, and it countered pretty much every relevant card in Legacy.
I do think that was true. I think there was like a small, like 5 to 10% of the format at that time that were playing the Stompy decks just so they can slam the chalices on one, and then go, if everybody's on this Mental Misstep plan, we're just gonna shut down all the 1-drops. But like, so much of the format was just like, no, we're just casting the spell, and that's it.
Yeah. Just free stuff. Typically not great. And this one was like the like one of the worst. I mean, it just immediately completely warped a format and then got banned like quite quickly. Probe existed for quite a while before it got banned, but no thank you to both of these cards from me. Definitely stay on the ban list. They were big oopsies in card design, in my opinion.
Okay, so from what y'all saying, is you're a no on both?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I'm 50-50 split. There's no way in hell I want Mental Misstep in my life. Have you ever been Mental Misstepped? Have either of you been?
I have not.
Yeah, nope. I played with it.
Okay.
I've played EDH. I still get Mental Misstepped on occasion. It's a good time.
Soul Ring, Mental Misstep.
You're like, sick. Let's go.
So stupid, man.
You know what? With the irregularity in the Commander ban list, I actually had to quickly go down and check to see if it was or was not banned.
It is not bad.
They're all over the place, so I don't trust them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Mental Misstep's a pretty cool card in EDH. I don't think it's busted there by any means.
No, it's fine in EDH. It's whatever in EDH.
Don't worry, when we break down the EDH ban list, oh my god, that'd be like a 4-episode list. Oh,
I will, like, I don't even play EDH anymore, but there's so many things on that list that I have so many problems with.
oh, my apologies. We're doing Gamers War list though.
That's a long list. Isn't that
That's
like
a
150 cards?
It's like a book, bro. There's like a pamphlet you have to go through.
That's a lot.
No.
I don't have time for this. You're gonna have to pay me for that.
You're right.
I'm gonna charge you my regular hourly rate for that.
No. But we'll move it along. We both agree. We all agreed that Gataxian Probe's great. The next one
Yep.
is Glimpse of Nature. And Glimpse of Nature is a really cool card. It's the 1 green sorcerer. When you play a creature spell this turn, you get to draw a card. On paper, it doesn't do anything, right? It does nothing.
Does nothing.
I personally know what the power this card has because I've played against elves, as Steven has been sitting next to me when I've played against
Oh, yeah.
elves. There's no way in hell I'm ever going to say bring this off the ban list. This card will never do anything beneficial. I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah, this card is just way too good for Modern, I think, while Hermitage Druid exists.
Yeah.
It's just so powerful. It's just so stupidly broken. There's a reason that Elves is an archetype in Legacy, and it's largely because of Glimpse of Nature. Obviously, Green Sun Zenith and Gaia's Cradle are a big deal too, but this is a big piece. And if you put this in Modern, you're just asking for really degenerate things to happen. Not a huge fan of this one. I'm elves. I like elves as much as the next guy, but I'm really not trying to make it that good. If you want this kind of effect, you can try and play Beck and Call. It's obviously way worse, but it's similar. So, and now in the new set, I think there's a green-white spell that does the same thing. So, if you love your elves, go brew with those. Pay 1 more mana, make it harder on yourself. Maybe you can make it good. I don't know, but one mana glimpse, a little too strong, I think. It scares me too much. I'm not interested in this one coming off, and that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I would really say, because I do resonate with you 100%, it's too strong for Modern. Beck and Call and the new card are both another color, which is a pretty big deal, and the fact that they're 2 mana. And if anyone's not aware of the combo, it's literally just Nettle Sentinel, Heritage Druid, this card. If you have another one, and it just constantly untaps it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty insane. You just basically draw your entire deck, play everything, and just kill your opponent. And you're doing this on like turn 2. You're not like doing this on like turn 3, 4, 5, whatever the case may be. You're going off on like turn 2, turn 3, pretty consistent.
Especially in Legacy. I mean, in Legacy, elves can literally just win the game on turn 2. In Modern, it would be harder, but if Glimpse was legal, I'm sure it would be possible. Even with Beck and Call and this other one, it might actually still be possible to turn 2 people, just incredibly unlikely.
Yeah.
But with Glimpse, it gets way more plausible. Just no thanks to this. Too good.
Interestingly enough, though, at one point, Modern was stated to be, we wanted this to be a turn 4 format. If you're going to combo turn 4 or later. It really doesn't feel like a turn 4 format to me anymore. It feels like a turn 3 format.
Mm-hmm.
Depending if they keep pushing on this power level and they wanted to go further and further into a lower turn count, this card might become okay if they keep pushing the power level. Right now, I still think no.
Yeah.
And depending on the answers they give us, once again, but it's a thought there. That would be the only thing. But for now, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I've played against elves enough in Legacy to know how busted this card is. If I could never play against this card again, it'd be awesome. But I do play Legacy, and it's not going anywhere in Legacy. I'm not advocating that by any means.
It's good for Legacy. I mean, I played against elves once for a full match, and it was good. I mean, my opponent comboed me legit, and then another time I stopped him, and he couldn't do anything. I interacted with just one card, and he just completely fizzled out and didn't do anything. So, and that's what I think you're looking for.
You haven't had a high until they have Glimpse going off when you're playing more of the grindy games, and you flash a Hull Breacher into the first trigger.
Ooh.
Oh, that my friend is why I'm going this weekend. I played 1 Hull Breacher in the side. I'm going to 2.
That card is so good. And
yeah.
We'll probably talk about that. And we may not ever talk about that card, actually, because just so you know, Hull Breach is a sweet card. I don't think it's ever coming to Modern, but it's a sweet card.
Coming to Modern.
I think it'd be fine, personally, but,
Yeah, Yeah, I could see it coming to Modern, to be honest.
The next card we already all agree this should be unbanned, so we'll move on to the next one after that. No, the next card that's on the list, all jokes aside, is Golgari Great Troll. For those that don't remember, this is a 4 and a green 0/0 troll skeleton. There's a battlefield with a +1 counter for each creature card in your graveyard. It also has 1, remove a +1/+1 counter from it, regenerate it. It also has this text that doesn't ever come up. It's called Dredge 6.
Never comes
This card has been in and out of Modern. So I'm gonna give my personal opinion. I don't ever think this card's actually banned because this card in specific's too strong. It's the cards that's surrounding it is super strong with it.
Yeah.
And that's why it always ends up being the one that they have to axe.
Yeah.
It is the correct call to axe it, and it's correct to not keep it on. If they got rid of Creeping Chill, you could unban Golgari Great Troll, in my opinion. But you can't have both in the same format. I think Creeping Chill is the reason this card got banned. So...
It actually, I'm pretty sure it got banned before Chill existed, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, it got unbanned and then it got rebanned.
No, it got banned right around the time Probe got banned. It might have actually been in the same.
All right, so Creeping Chill was printed in Guild of Ravnica.
Yeah.
Just pulling this up real quick, and then.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Larry, one guy you could ask about this actually is Matt Ayers. You're gonna tilt him big time. This is why he doesn't play Constructed anymore. It was this banning right here.
Really?
Yeah, he was on Dredge, and doing very well with Dredge.
Oh, yep,
and
I did get it mixed up with Creeping Chill and Prize Amalgam. I knew it got banned because of one of the haymakers in the deck.
Yeah, exactly. It did get banned because Amalgam is why. Yeah.
But this card was originally it was on the ban list, got brought back off the ban list, and then it got put back on. Yeah, I just got the hitter wrong, but still, like I said, I think it is because of the cards surrounding. Like actually, in that ban announcement, the reason they say they banned is because of the printings of 2 different cards.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't actually. Nothing that Golgari Great Troll was already doing. It's the fact that 2 new cards were just too good to go along with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. I don't ever think it's going to get back off the ban list.
Pretty unlikely.
Yeah, we'd have to have a lot of sideboard hate and a lot of graveyard hate.
To be fair,
and even,
we do
even
right
there,
now.
I don't. We do.
Yeah, we are getting more. We are getting more. Yeah, for sure.
But even there, I don't think you're gonna get it.
So my opinion on it, like they could unban it right now, and I still don't think Dredge would be tier 1. Because there's just so much efficient hate going around right now that I still don't think Dredge is gonna be tier 1. I think
that's probably true.
I think it'll move up a tier. I think it'll be tier 2 now, because I think it's in the tier 3 beyond list right now.
Yeah,
or it'll still pop up and do well in the event here and there, but it's just not where it was at one point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this card existed alongside looting, too. Dredge has lost a lot of tools.
Yes.
They've nerfed it hard.
Now, the thing about Golgari... Yeah, and the thing about Golgari Great Troll, the reason I say I wouldn't unban it is because I think it'll get put back on the ban list by just one printing again.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that whole hot potato, mindset with the bans.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're aware of cards that are coming up in the future, so it's probably why they're like, we just can't unban this. It's just gonna get rebanned again in 3 sets or something. So,
like I said, I'm not an advocate to unban the Golgari Great Troll. Like I said, we talked about Faceless Looting last week, so we don't need to retouch that just for the one archetype. But Golgari Great Troll, I would keep on the ban list.
Yep.
Moving on to the next one, we have Green Sun Zenith. Obviously,
talk about this.
Oh yeah, we did this with a two.
We did. We have definitely covered Green Sun.
Yeah. You're right. All right, let's talk about everyone's favorite Modern Horizons card, Modern Horizons 1 card. Which, funny enough, I mentioned this card a lot in my Flesh and Blood article. Funny enough.
Oh, that's funny.
Gets a lot of talk about in that article.
I'll have to read it.
But this is Hogak Horizon. Was it Necropolis? Is that how you say it?
Necropolis.
Yep.
Necropolis.
It's 5, and then it's the green-black hybrid, so it equals up to 7 mana. It's a legendary creature avatar, 8/8. You can't spend mana to cast this spell. We'll come back to that. Convoke Delve.
Completely unplayable.
You may cast this from your graveyard, and it also has Trample. Okay. So let's talk about this card. So first off, when you have anything in Magic that says they don't want you to use mana to cast it, keep that as a red flag. Okay, that's a red flag usually. Something's not right. And I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to be like, oh, they're trying to be cool. They were like, we're gonna do something different. We're gonna give it. You're gonna have to play this strictly out of the graveyard. Their mindset was like, there's so much graveyard hate in Modern. It'll be fine. We don't need to test this because nobody's gonna convince me they ever tested this card. People say like they obviously tested this for a Modern set. Okay, no way this got past the writing block if it did.
Well, I will say this. I think it may have gotten tested, right?
By who? Ray Charles?
Well, no. So, like, the problem with really hyper targeted testing is that they might miss just how detrimental a card can be, which is why I want them to expand it. But
part of the issue is once these cards come out,
yeah,
then people that's when all the players in mass start like brewing and figuring out decks, right? And a small team, regardless if it's like pros or whatever, whoever's on their design team, regardless of who it is, a group of like 10 people who are like probably fairly rushed in this process to just like spit these cards out for consumers. They probably don't have a ton of time, and they're certainly not going to come up with the final product that was the Hogak deck. What became the Hogak deck? Like, there's no way that they came up with the Hogak deck in their testing team. That just didn't happen. They were probably testing Hogak in decks, but just way less busted decks than what we eventually saw from Hogak. But in any case, it was definitely like way pushed. This card was just disgusting, and we ended up obviously seeing that in the Modern format.
Hogak Summer.
Yeah, Hogak Summer. This card led to some other cards getting. We have already alluded to, I believe, Bridge from Below, right?
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Yeah, on our last one, we already talked about Bridge. Hogak got that one banned first.
Yep.
For those that don't know, basically the first iteration of Hogak was kind of like a pseudo combo deck. They could kill you by attacking with this 8/8, but they could also just mill your entire deck by using Altar of Dementia, which allows you to sacrifice creatures to mill libraries for, I believe, the power of the creature you sacrifice. So what you would do is you would sack Hogak and you would mill yourself for a little bit until you hit enough bridges that you're able to produce enough creatures where you could just sack your board and mill your opponent's entire library, and they would just die. Yep. And the deck was doing this in some cases, I think, as early as like even turn 2, but certainly turn 3. So then, people were like, Wizards was like, okay, that's enough of this, but we don't want to ban our big sweet Hogak card that we just put in our set, so we're going to ban the cards around it. We're going to ban Bridge. No more of this. And then people were like, okay, we'll just start attacking people with Hogak and still just putting it into play on like turn 2, and we're just going to be like a little more mid-rangey and things. We don't even need Bridge. We're still just going to crush people. And that's pretty much what happened. Hogak continued to dominate, and then they finally had to do away with this. But yeah, this card was super busted. I am curious. I wonder how good this card would have been if it wouldn't have had trample. It still would have been really good. Would it have had to get banned?
I think so.
It probably still would have. Yeah. But this card having trample, I mean, this just is so stupid. Like, why did this have trample? Like, give me a break. It's already a 2-mana 8/8. Like, there's just no reason that this thing should have had trample, like, at all.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that was like, it was already very pushed, but the fact that it had trample, I just never really understood. Because like, just big giant idiot is like something they give to green cards pretty often, but they certainly don't always get trample. And just with how much text this card already had, I just really didn't understand trample on this card.
And they balanced it around the fact that it's a 7-mana creature, I'm sure.
Yeah,
It's not a 7-mana creature.
yeah, it's a 2-mana creature. Really, it's a 0-mana creature, kind of, but yeah, just was a really broken card. For those that experienced it, you know how awful it was, and for those that didn't have to experience it, consider yourself lucky because it sucked.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this card was really broken, is really broken. Absolutely keep it on the ban list. I have no interest ever playing with or against this card again. That format was so awful. The mirrors of the Hogak decks were so boring. Just very not interesting at all. Just terrible magic all around. So really not a fan of this card in any way.
So, I want it unbanned only because I cashed every GP and open I went to because Burn had a great Hogak matchup, so I was just farming them. So,
Sure.
I want it unbanned for bias reasons.
It's funny because one of my like near top 8s of an open and almost getting onto the Pro Tour was when this card was legal, and I was playing not this card at all. I was playing other things, but like. It's funny to me because this card, if it was just like replacing Convoke or Delve with one, or like the fact that it has Convoke and Delve, if it would have just replaced one of those, right? Um, and or just trim something else away from it, like it probably. And then like there's also the conversation that like we have endurance now. We have so many more interactions, but during its existence, when the format was you now need to play 4 main deck ley lines. That's the correct decision. You need to play 4 main deck ley lines. And if you do that, you're in a better spot. That's an awful format to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, no, Hogak was just too good. There's no way that they could have kept it around realistically. Regardless if I was having a good time. And John Whetstone was too. He won a classic and he was like farming them too. Like I remember following him when he was doing that. Didn't know John at the time. This is only fresh one because we were actually talking about this last night randomly. Because again, it all links to what I was writing in the article and I was talking to him about it. And so obviously Hogak, I could talk a little bit better about it because I spent last night doing it. But the card you couldn't like replace the Convoke or Delve because you can't really have this as a Delve only card because it has the two colors.
Yeah. Then
Um,
give it just the Convoke then.
They would just have to, either that or like you said, maybe just take the trample away.
Trample should have been gone. That should not have been on the card.
Something should have been removed from the card because it was so pushed. I mean,
At
look
least
at the
chump
comparison
blocking it
between.
being an option would have been nice. Obviously, the first build would have still been broken.
Yeah, the first
But then
one,
the second build
they
would
still
have been
would have
okay.
needed to build the first one. The second one still would have been busted, but it may not have been as dominant as it was.
I think it would have been very good, but I think the trample might have been a good answer to it. But all I know, end result, keep it on the ban list.
Yeah.
Keep it there.
All right, next card on the list is Hypergenesis. This is a sorcery. No cost or anything. No actual mana cost, but it does have to spend 3 for 1 green. Starting with you, each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land from their hand onto the battlefield. Repeat this process until no one has put a card onto the battlefield.
I'm curious. Were you guys in playing Modern
No.
or playing?
I
Okay,
have-
you guys weren't, right?
I was not, but I already can tell you right now. If anyone listening to this is annoyed by the Rhinos deck in Modern right now, just imagine your opponent shardless agenting into this
Yep.
instead of Rhinos, and then putting an Omniscience into play, and then going off and just killing you immediately. Instead of putting 2 4/4s into play, they just put an Emrakul into play and an Omniscience. Well, they put an Omniscience, then they cast the Emrakul, and then they take the extra turn and annihilate your entire board.
Yeah.
So
and on top of that, there's also the chains of like playing threats that remove your opponent's threats, that you exile your own stuff to remove it itself, to chain off into removing itself, and then remove your opponent's stuff. So like, it's awful.
Yep.
All right, so Caleb Durward back in 2014 wrote a modern band series Hypergenesis list. It looks like from what I'm seeing here, the big payoffs that he has is Emrakul, Progenesis, the big elephant dude.
Yeah.
What's his name? And then Ashen Riders.
Yeah.
That looks like that. At least that's what I see here. Trying to see if I can find an actual list. Trying to get a little bit better information. Yeah, I don't see the full list, but yeah, that looks like what their payouts were for. And usually, if you're doing that kind of stuff, you're gonna win the game. That's just the gist of it. And obviously, when it was banned, you had Spirit Guide as well, so you were doing this on turn 1 or 2.
Yeah, you're doing this on like turn 2 because you
Yeah.
had Spirit Guide, and then you're like hasting your creatures with Urbrask. You're blowing up their stuff with Terastodon.
Yeah, just insert busted big bomb thing. You're doing that, and it's just terrible gameplay.
And this was when they
Very
just had Violent Outburst and Demonic Dread. So add Charlotte's Agents to this to increase the consistency. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just think about
and Ardent Play. They had Ardent Play as well. So.
Just think about how consistent Rhinos is, and that's how consistent this would be. I'd be doing it literally every game on turn 3, sometimes on turn 2. Actually, never on, just always on turn 3. But yeah, just absolutely disgusting. I guess technically on turn 2 if they're on the draw because Gemstone Cavern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just no thanks to this. This sounds just absolutely awful. Should absolutely stay on the ban list probably forever. Just a horrible card. When you get into casting it off of Cascade. So
What are you talking about? I think the card's actually good.
I'm done with you. Next card.
So the next card, we're actually going to put this in Second Sunrise together because the overwhelming opinion on this that they were banned for the same reason. So I'm just going to talk about it. We have Clan Ironworks, KCI, in Second Sunrise. So starting with KCI, it's a 4 generic artifact. You sack an artifact, you add 2 to your mana pool. I'm going to talk about Second Sunrise soon, and I'm going to go by what everyone says it got banned for. All of it's subjective at the end of the day. But we have 1 and double white Second Sunrise. Each player returns play all artifact, creature, enchantment, or land cards that are put to their graveyard from play this turn. From what everyone says, that these cards were banned because, 1, coverage sucked because games typically went to time majority of the time. They were horrible for coverage, and they were very hard to play where a lot of people weren't very good at playing the decks, which is going to happen with these kind of decks because they're not very easy to just pick up typically like some of the other choices you have. And they're just so bad for coverage and just so bad for gameplay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and let you guys give your opinion why maybe these were banned. I think I'm on that boat, and that's like a big reason why they banned it, because at the time they were very high on coverage. But yeah, I'll let Dewey go ahead and kick it off.
Okay. So Second Sunrise, I think, falls to a slightly different caveat, but I do agree.
I would agree.
Both of these cards should be banned, 100%. The thing that makes it different is that Second Sunrise should be banned because you could go to this, I'm going to take an extremely long turn and not kill my opponent. I don't get that.
It wasn't deterministic at all.
Exactly. So what we were getting was rounds in tournaments were going 20, 30 minutes over time, and then nothing would happen. Because the rule after you hit time is you get 5 turns. But those turns don't have a time requirement, so you can do whatever you want. I mean, we had pros that were notably going, hey, Judge, watch my opponent. I'm going to go to the bathroom. They're going off right now, and I have no care to watch this. So, Second Sunrise for me falls into that category. It's awful for the format. It's similar to another card I'm sure we'll be talking later on as well. Sensei's Divining Top, which just makes the format longer. All tournament rounds go so much longer. Now, KCI itself, to me, falls into another category, which it was super consistent. It did go off very, very well. But there was another layer to this, which was it used a caveat of the ruling, which most players, just didn't even understand. And I think that causes a problem with the way they design cards. When you have cards that are just so archaic, with where the design's at, they're like, hey, we messed up. New players won't really understand the way this works because we've cleaned up our design going forward. But these cards that are still legal, they still sometimes use these mechanics, and as a result, we can go infinite with it. But new players are going to not understand this at all, which causes a lot of issues. And the timing of it as well, most players didn't understand. So then it's resulting in lots of judge calls. New players don't understand this. So combined with all of that, plus the time factor, plus with its consistency, it should stay banned. Now, I will add, I am great at buying cards that get banned immediately. So that's super cool.
Well, did you buy both of these?
I buy the best decks. Like if it's gonna be dominating the tournament, I need to get my hands on it to play the next tournament round.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a feel bad there. So
Oh, I know. But yeah, that all those reasons are very, very good reasons to say the least. Steven, did you have anything else you wanted to say about this?
Yeah. So, I definitely agree with Dewey. They're slightly different category for me too, just because like, yeah, the whole second sunrise thing was that was the one that was just the just complete time eater. The Cart Clan Ironworks could take a while, especially if players were inexperienced. But you could literally be experienced with Second Sunrise, and the deck still just took forever because the whole process of the combo is sequencing and popping off bauble type cards like Sphere, Star, Baubles, things like that, and then ghost quartering yourself, and then doing that, and then you would second sunrise, and then just keep doing it over and over again until you finally got to whatever your win condition was in that deck, which may have been a Lab Maniac at the time. I don't remember. I don't know.
I think it was Looping Pirate Spellbomb.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
it was.
Yep.
I just recently watched a coverage in the Pro Tour on this, and
Okay.
you want to talk about the most boring match I've ever
Right.
watched?
And the problem was until you reach that final endpoint, they could fail.
They could miss, so you
Yep,
had to
so
keep
you
playing.
couldn't
Yeah, you
scoop.
didn't want to scoop. With Cart Clan Ironworks, obviously, like it was still like similar to how like the deck would win. Sometimes they did the Pyrite Spellbomb too. They had, I think, other ways to win as well. But it was the same type of stuff. I am interested. I do think Cart Clan should stay on the ban list. I remember thinking when Cart Clan got banned that I was really hoping that this was going to be the nail in the coffin for Mox Opal.
Yeah.
It was not at the time. I think it should have been for sure, but it still wasn't yet time for Mox Opal to go, according to Wizards.
It is
They
interesting because
eventually got there.
if Mox Opal would have been banned, it would have been a pretty heavy hit to KCI.
Oh, I don't know that this deck would have been busted without Mox Opal. I really don't. And that's the point I was going to get to here, is that I actually think if this card existed without, like right now, without Mox Opal, there would be a KCI deck. I don't think it would be completely busted, because a lot of the power of that KCI deck was, first of all, that they could play KCI on turn 3 so easily because of Mox Opal. But the real problem with Mox Opal in this deck was the fact that they were looping it over and over again with the trawler, the scrap heap trawler. So they would like tap it for mana and then play another one and lose it, and then tap that one for mana, and then they'd like play one drop and pop the one drop and to the KCI, and then get their Opal back, and so they got to just keep looping this Mox Opal for colored mana nonetheless, because KCI doesn't actually generate colored mana, which can actually be problematic when you're comboing off sometimes. But anyway, it should stay on the ban list because it's just it's asking for a bad play experience potentially. But yeah, I actually think the card would be potentially reasonable without Mox Opal. Could be wrong, but that's my opinion. I think Mox Opal was the glue that just completely broke that deck. And we're going to get to some other cards here on this list in the future that I'm going to say similar stuff about, actually. I think there's some other cards that are on this ban list. I really am curious to know what Modern would have looked like with these cards existing without Mox Opal. But yeah, my final opinion is it should stay on the ban list, but I do wonder what the deck would look like now.
Yep, most definitely. We already talked about Mox Opal because we talked about that in Chromox together.
Yep.
We're going to talk about Michael Sinclairs. Very interesting card. I've played against Michael Sinclairs many times. I have only lost to it a couple of those times. I've been very
Right.
fortunate that I've been able to play around it very well. And I've had some opponents that it's all like questionable if their sequencing wasn't correct whenever they play against me. With that being said, I'm not trying to devalue the power that this card has, especially with Karn, the great creator. I personally, in my opinion, I didn't even think it needed to be banned. Just my opinion. I didn't expect it to be banned, and I still don't think it should be banned, in my opinion. So I would unban it, because I never felt like it was that much of a powerhouse of the format. But Steven, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, so I remember when this got banned as well. I also did not at the time really love the ban, and I didn't really see it coming. And I mean, some of it is like I think I was like playing Etron at that time. I don't remember 100% if I was, but yeah, I definitely was playing Etron actually because I had a brief stint of playing Etron with main deck Phyrexian Revokers for main deck Revokers for Oco Thief of Crowns, and this I believe got banned alongside Oco.
Yeah, I believe so.
But I mean, I like you said. I mean, you could definitely play around this card. You could beat this card. All those things. It definitely wasn't like dominating the format or anything. But again, we talked about a really negative play experience with some of these other cards, like Clan, for example. Why it should just stay on the ban list is because even if it did exist, and even if the deck like wasn't super busted, it does lead to potentially some really garbage Magic experience, which is bad for the game. And Lattice definitely does that. I mean, it's just like a complete feel bad to just watch a Karn go get a thing that just lets you're done. You're completely locked. You can do absolutely nothing unless you draw exactly Force of Vigor or some other free spell that could let you blow up an artifact. But the card leads to some really garbage play experience. So from that perspective, I understand the ban. So I guess if we're going for the play experience, it should stay on the ban list. It's not there necessarily because it was overtly broken or busted, but it's more of a play experience thing. So I think it should stay on the ban list for that reason.
I, on the other hand, think it should be unbanned, only for one reason. They state over and over that Modern is a turn 4 format.
Sure.
In one of the fastest turns you can rush this out, it's a Tron style deck. That you're going to be rushing this out on turn 4. You get Karn, you have the Tron, and then you get a secondary tower, and you're able to get it in play.
Okay.
And then from that, you lock your opponent out, and you combo them, and you kill them basically on turn 4. To me, that's not any worse than storming and killing your opponent on turn 4.
That's
Amulet tiding and crushing them on turn 4.
Yep.
Now, they haven't conceded, because they haven't quote-unquote died, but they're dead, right?
Yeah.
They're dead. And
yeah, they are really inconsistent with this whole turn 4, all this stuff.
They don't really even reflect on it anymore. Actually, I think it's been like 4 or 5 years since they've specifically stated the turn they want the format to be. And that even pushes me further into wanting this unbanned, because they go, this should be a turn 4 format later on, or earlier. But now, the format feels like a turn 3 format to me. If you're going to combo off, you're killing them sooner. Or turn 3.5.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm okay with a Karn Lattice lock on turn 4. And that's okay. Because you have some maneuverability out of it. If you've established a board presence, your opponent's not going to stop you. They can't do anything to stop that. So that's my only reason why I feel like it should be unplayed. Now, if they're banning it specifically because they think it's a feel bad, I don't like that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of reasons to feel bad. I don't like my opponent milling me out. I don't like my opponent burning me. I don't like my opponent having me in a lock.
I don't like my opponent winning.
Like my opponent burning me. I don't like my opponent playing Blood Moon.
I don't like. So like that to me is an awful reason. It's egregious to go, hey, Oh, the Karn lattice lock feels real bad, so we're gonna go ahead and ban that.
No,
But
I
killing your
agree.
opponent,
If you're gonna go with that specific reasoning, there are a lot of other cards that should be on this list that are not on this list.
Yeah.
Blood Moon is one that really comes to mind. That also just completely terrible gameplay experience.
right?
Really kind of a dumb card. But that there's no way that that lattice locking on turn 4 is much dumber than like Blood Mooning on turn 3 against a deck that like needs their non-basic lands. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Or
So
feel bad
that's
like
my
when
reason
you're
why I
playing
feel like it should
burn.
be unbanned. It's just not doing that crazy thing that other decks are doing. That's like making me feeling worse. It's just the idea that it's the same thing with like EDH, where like some players have lost, they just haven't conceded yet, and they refuse to concede, but they've lost.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, I said from the get, I don't think this should have been banned. I don't think it should
Yep.
stay banned. And also, you're so worried about being lattice. We have cards like Fury and stuff that can kill the Karn when they try all that mess now.
right.
Like, we have interaction like out the wazoo for both sides of the spectrum. And like I said, the whole feel bad reasoning is poor, and it seems like a poor ass excuse.
Yeah.
I think it's a horrible ban. I thought it was a horrible ban when they did ban it, and I think it'll continue to be a horrible ban while it stays banned. Like it makes no sense.
Their exact words were, lastly, we'd like to take this opportunity to address other problematic interactions between Karn and Mycosynth. This combination, popular in other Tron decks, completely lock the opponent out from casting further spells. While decks featuring this combination often win in other ways, the deck building cost to include this interaction is low, causing it to show up more often than fun in competitive play. As a result, we're banning it. We don't play competitive for fun.
Yeah, they can throw that shit out the window.
Right.
We ain't here
So,
for fun. We're here to make our opponents have tears.
yeah.
That's our intention.
Yeah. So then, like, what are they gonna do? Like, this was made back in 2020, so it's like, what are they gonna do? Start banning, all the stuff that I mentioned earlier because it doesn't feel good.
So
Like,
they're
I
gonna
don't know.
they'll leave Chalice in the format, but they'll take away
Right.
Lattice. Get out of
Yeah.
here. Have you
Exactly.
ever played against a Chalice for one when we played Burn where it was majority one drops?
Yep.
Uh,
Chalice and Blood Moon are both just
Yeah.
a lot of not fun cards. Choke, Boil.
Yeah.
But
Oh man.
but
Choke's
yet
so
they're
annoying.
okay with those cards still existing, but ban this because it's unfun. That I hate that ban
Yeah.
reasoning.
I agree.
Fair.
But let's go ahead and move along to the next one. I think we're getting to the point where we have a firm stance on Lattice.
Yep.
The next one is Mystic Sanctuary. This was an interesting card. This came in the battlefield tapped unless you controlled 3 or more other islands. When they're in the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant searching card from your graveyard on top of your library. And for some wild reason, it was fetchable. We'll come back to that. So this card, obviously, it was very good with the Cryptic Lock. I guess that's what they called it, the Cryptic Lock.
Yep.
So the thing about the Cryptic Lock, it was really good. I was a fan of, I was fine with Mystic Sanctuary. Obviously, I played against it many times, so I had a good, idea how to actually play around it. That's not a good enough reason to say it shouldn't be banned or should be banned. I think it should be banned only because it's fetchable. Like, why does it have to be fetchable?
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. This cycle made no sense. Why in the world did these are like the only utility lands ever that have been fetchable? What were they thinking?
Yeah,
It
At
doesn't
common.
make any
At
sense.
common.
they were common, weren't they?
Yeah,
It
they were
doesn't
common.
make any sense. None
The
of it. Like, what were you doing? You've literally always made utility lands non-basic land types, and then for whatever reason, they put basic land types on all of these lands.
Yeah.
Like, even we saw it in Pioneer too. The white one, people were using Knight of the White Orchid to go get the white one to put a counter on Ballista to have lethal with Heliod. It just didn't make any sense. It was such a dumb. Just what are the design flaw on this was just so unbelievable. How did nobody, like, this is the kind of stuff that Hogak, in my opinion, is literally more defensible than this, because how do you miss this? How can you possibly miss that there are that fetch lands exist and could break these? It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, yeah, as these cards were, as Mystic Sanctuary is specifically, should completely stay on the ban list. Terrible card design again. The whole cycle really is bad design. Fortunately, the white one was only a little bit busted in Pioneer because you could get it with exactly Night of the White Orchid. And the other ones, thank God, nobody could really break those. But still, just heinous card design. Just absolutely terrible work there. All you had to do was just make these literally like every other utility land, and they probably would have been fine. But for whatever reason, they had to be fetchable, and they led to huge issues. If they wouldn't have had the basic land type and could have been fetchable, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. It would probably still see some play, but it would not have been as busted as it was. It's still, the blue one still would have been, really nuts. Don't get me wrong. It still would have been good in Modern, no question, but it would have probably not been banned, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing I resonate with. Like, none of these should be fetchable. It caused issues in every format. It's just not where we need to be, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I agree. It makes no sense. If it wasn't fetchable, I'd say it's a fine card. But since it's fetchable, I'm not on board.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along, let's talk about everyone's favorite prince, the Prince of Simic. Let's talk about Oco, Thief of Crowns. So,
Yeah.
Oco's an interesting card, right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
really know how. We all know what we're gonna say about this card. I really don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. I'm not saying unban this card. Like, you guys,
You know,
give me your reasons why it should be unbanned.
Here's the thing. I thought it was a misprint. So, and they did this a little bit with Arena, where instead of a +2/+1, it was like a +2/-1. Probably would have fixed everything. It probably would have fixed everything if they did that.
Oh, it definitely would probably fix it, but unfortunately, we can't do that with the cards.
No,
Yeah.
not with paper.
No.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do think this should stay on the ban list. Don't get me wrong. But this is another one of the cards that I'm very curious what it would have looked like if this card were legal without Mox Opal.
Yep.
Mox Opal, yet again, really made this card more busted than it would have been otherwise. I mean, Larry will tell you. Larry, didn't you play an Oco on turn 1 against somebody?
I didn't use a single Opal. Didn't use a single one.
Bullshit. Larry used 2 Opals to do it, if I remember correctly the story. I believe. I mean, that's probably the only way you can do it on turn 1.
It's either 2 or 3. That's all that's happening.
So, I mean, I played it on turn 2, a couple times off of Opal. I played turn 1, Emery's.
Goose
like that,
or Emery.
Yeah, like Goose, Emery draws. But Oco's still obviously, like, I mean, it's probably just the best Planeswalker ever printed. It's pretty hard to argue against that, I think, at this point. But what I will say is, like I said, what would the format have looked like without this existing alongside Mox Opal? Because obviously it was very good in the Urza deck, and it was very good in, I think, some of the like green-white creature decks were like playing Oco. But really, those were like the 2 main Oco decks in Modern were those 2 decks.
They were playing them in Infect too. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They were like boarding them out of Infect. Sometimes they were main decking them. I remember that. Yeah. But that's whatever. Infect can have a good sideboard card. I'm not hating on Infect. Infect is, like you said, alluded to earlier. It's not tier 1 by any means right now. I don't think it would even be tier 1 if Oco was legal.
No.
And in the
So did
in
you?
the oh
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, go on.
No, did you see the burn deck that splashed for Oco and 5-0'd?
Yeah, we actually know the guy that did that.
Yeah, we
Adam.
do. Yeah,
Adam
it's
did
Adam.
that. Yeah, Adam Washburn. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Oco's crazy. Oco's super good. I think it would have been less busted with no Opal in the format again. It still probably would have been on its way to a ban.
Yeah.
Like I said, best planeswalker ever. I don't think there's a huge argument on that. And
Yeah, it's,
if it did still exist, we'd be seeing some really busted Urza decks still for sure.
I agree. Being able to, the thing that I thought it was so busted out, and just to wrap this up, is it made mana every turn. With Urza, it literally was +2 make a blue mana.
Yep.
And that's what was so good about it. I was doing that in Atlanta. I remember that.
Stupid. It was stupid.
My best open finish was because of Oco.
Mm-hmm.
And Urza, obviously. I love me some Urza.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I top 8 an Invitational.
Exactly. Oh, I know. So we know this card is good.
Yeah, we get it.
One counterpoint to this, because I do think Oco overall should be banned. That's fine. They did something that was really interesting, which was they banned 2 cards from the same deck. They banned both Mox and Oco at the same time. Normally you go, hey, we're going to ban the thing that we think is the absolute egregious card, or we're going to ban the card that we think might get there, and that's okay for us.
And they did both.
And that was really weird.
It was
Normally you don't get that.
But I think we're learning at this point that there's like no consistency when it comes to upstairs Magic.
Yeah.
Their consistency, they said that ain't for us.
They said the highest contributing win rates to Urza piles were Oco and Mox Opal. Oco's become the #1 card played in competitive in its inclusion. In order to improve the healthy format of Modern, we're going to ban it. Cool. In addition, the important part of the blue-green Urza piles, Oco was also used to play a number of top Modern decks, indicated removing Oco alone would leave Urza decks to dominate the format, and that's why they felt that Oco ban was reasonable. But to me, it felt like they're saying, hey, we don't want to ban our new shiny card. We're going to ban Oco and Mox Opal. So.
Yeah. Like I said, their consistency is poor. We all know that. I think anybody listening has understood that at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all on the same conclusion. Stay banned.
Yep, for sure.
Next card was out of that same set. Come to find out, Throne of Eldraine was good. Who knew?
Weird.
Who knew? I kind of miss him in Standard. The next card is Once Upon a Time.
Unfortunate Wizards didn't let us play the Standard format with no bans. That would have been super fun.
Oh man, who, buddy?
No. Honestly, I think it would have been great,
dude. It would have been wild, man.
Well,
it would have been so stupid, dude.
Well, no. So, like, without all that stupid, crazy stuff, would it have been okay? Is the question. Because everything's just pushed to such a high power level.
Oh yeah, no, it would have been nuts. It would have been literally more powerful than Modern.
A big punt was them not running a special event at the end of the Standard format where they say this is a no ban list Standard event.
I think that would have been cool.
That would have been sick.
Just one tournament.
Not tournament. You know how they were doing the Standard 2021 or whatever?
Yeah.
Do that. It would have been cool.
Just should no ban list Standard. Just
that would have been cool.
The last 3 months.
Yeah. When you have 7+ cards on the ban list at one time in Standard, there's a problem anyways, but here we are. But yeah, the next card was also banned in Standard, but this card's called Once Upon a Time.
Yep.
I don't know if y'all remember when we were talking about Hogak when free spells aren't good. Well, let's introduce you to another one. If this is the first spell you cast there in the game, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. It's normally 1 in a green, which is actually a reasonable rate if it was always that, by the way.
Yep.
Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Reveal a creature or land from them, put them into your hand, put the rest in the bottom in a random order. This is a very reasonable 2-drop instant. Very reasonable. But you can't have free spells.
Yeah, I don't even think it's playable at 2 mana. I really
don't.
I don't think people could have played this.
No, I don't think it is. But the fact that you're giving a free spell, you just can't. It's just too good. The card was
Yep.
super good in Modern when you had it in Primeval Titan decks. It lets you do your thing so effectively. Like, you're never whiffing. If you whiff,
Yeah,
oh,
it wouldn't have
man.
been. I don't think it would have been play. Who knows? Maybe it still would have been playable, but it wouldn't have been, like you said, it wouldn't have been broken. You can't have free spells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this card's just ridiculous, man. I mean, just completely ridiculous. When you get to do it for 0 mana, and like you said, an Amulet Titan, it was unbelievable. It hit Titan or your bounce land or castle. I mean, it just set you up so well. If it were still legal, now it could hit Urza's Saga too.
Yep.
In standard, this crap was hitting Field of the Dead or Golos to go get the Field of the Dead train rolling. Just tons of just really, really degenerate nonsense. Getting started by Once Upon a Time. Again, heinous card design. Free spells, stop giving them to us unless they're really not good. Because if they're even remotely close to good, they're going to be broken. That's the lesson from this ban list. The most busted stuff have generally been the free stuff. Just absolutely not to that being unbanned from me.
Yep, I'm on the no unban.
Yeah, same here. The only thing I could have seen as like a way to like make this where it was fine would be like it costs 1 green less, so it's 1 color less on
Sure.
turn 1. That would have been probably fine.
Or just don't give it that clause. Like, there was no reason you even needed to give it a clause.
Yeah.
You know?
0 reason.
Like, just let it essentially be a draw spell, in a way.
Yeah.
You know? It's fine. Like, they didn't have to, like, give it that clause.
I mean, Throne of Eldraine is just a good example of them going nuts and pushing the power level of cards way too far. Hopefully they got that out of their system, and with future standard sets, we're not going to see cards like this, because this is just not acceptable, and it's just bad for the game.
Yep.
I'll agree. Moving along, we're going to put these together, and that's Ponder and Preordain.
Mm-hmm.
Both cards are quite good. And I'm going to make my opinion on these. I think Preordain should be unbanned and Ponder stays banned. I think Preordain's definitely fine for Modern, in my opinion. I don't think Ponder is. Ponder's probably too strong to be able to see 3 straight cards and then be like, I'll just shuffle. Maybe that's a little too good for combo decks. I really don't think Preordain's that bad, though. Honestly, there is a world where Ponder might not even be that bad. But I think Preordain's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've always been of the opinion, personally, that Preordain is actually like really close to Ponder in power level. It's not quite as good, but it's very close.
It is.
You still see 3. Well, you have the option to see 3.
Yes.
Because you get to see 2, and then if you don't like those 2, you bottom those 2, and then you draw, which is, it's not that much different than shuffle on Ponder, because a shuffle on Ponder, it doesn't put the 3 on the bottom. It just shuffles those 3 that you didn't want back into your deck. Whereas with Preordain, the 2 that you don't want are just gone. And so you kind of get to start stacking your deck. So really the power level of Preordain and Ponder is not like that vastly different, for the reason that I was just saying. And when you really think about it, it is really quite close. Now Ponder is a little better, because there are times where maybe like the 3 in the pile, you like want them all or whatever. I don't know. I really think they're very close in power level. Thinking about it more, it's hard for me to even like come up with too many scenarios where Ponder is going to be that much better. They're both very good, and I believe, doesn't Preordain see play in Legacy Storm still?
Preordain?
Yes.
Yeah, Preordain still played.
Yeah. They play
It depends on your build often, and what you're trying to do. But yeah, they both see play.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said,
But anyway,
go ahead.
That being said, I do think these. It's actually really interesting. If you don't bring back the stuff like Seething Song and Rite of Flame and things like that then maybe these are okay. I'm a little nervous about like other combo, like for example, like Odd Nauseum, like Odd Nause having these instead of Serum Visions are just such a huge upgrade. These are also just a massive upgrade to like decks like Blue Red Murktide, or these are just like far and away just so much better than Serum Visions. And like Blitz and things like that. I mean, these draw spells are just very powerful. Like these cards they give you so much information and they really let you just churn through the library. Um, you know, but so I'm going to say I think they probably should still stay on the ban list. I'm worried that if these come back, the combo decks just get a little too busted. This is the type of thing where like they could try bringing it back, and I wouldn't be like mad about it. But if the decks ended up being really stupid, I would want them to get rid of it again quickly, for sure.
I am on the bandwagon of keeping it banned.
Mm-hmm.
It makes blue decks too consistent, and it's gonna result in more problems than not, in my opinion. And that's why I would want to keep them there. And yeah, I think for all the purposes, it is a very similar power level. So I agree with you there, Steven. And it's funny to me. I think this ban almost feels like a ban of like we wish we could have banned Brainstorm and Legacy, but we can't because we've gone too far.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. At the end of the day, like I said, I think Preordain will be fine to bring back, but they probably both aren't going to get unbanned anytime soon,
No.
if ever.
yeah, no.
So we'll go ahead and move it along. The next one we're gonna put the next, not the next two. That's actually down a little bit. The next one is Punishing Fire. It's 1 in a red instant, 2 damage to target creature player. Whenever an opponent gains life, you may pay a red. If you do, return it from your graveyard to your hand.
Yep.
Was this a part of a combo?
Groves of Burnwillow.
Okay, I was just wondering what the combo was.
So you play Groves of Burnwillow.
Yeah,
It's
Grows
a
lets
land.
them gain the life. Yeah.
Correct. So you gain the life. Because you gain the life, it generates a red or green, but you generally generate the red. So from doing that, just tapping that land, you generate both the life they get, triggering Punishing Fire. You've generated the red, you pay the red, get Punishing Fire back.
Yeah, but doesn't so it's just like a net 1 damage when you do that?
Well, here's the real issue with it.
Yeah, I want to just hear because I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, you obviously will eventually kill your opponent because you're netting a damage. But the real problem with Punishing Fire, I think more than just the doing it 20 times to the face to kill them, is the fact that it kind of just invalidates playing a creature strategy against like Jund, or imagine like Jeskai Control just having a mountain in their deck that just continually allows them to shock every creature that gets played. So literally, like, if you're playing like any creature deck at all, just every threat you play is just dead. It's just going to die, and then if you don't play a creature, then they just start burning you out with Punishing Fire. It's similar. It's kind of, again, it's obviously not a free card. You have to pay a red and a colorless. But it's just like a card that just like, unless you have Graveyard Hate, it never ends. It's just a removal spell that just never goes away and just continues to just kill everything. It's just like, it's just too much value for one card type of deal. And it just kind of completely invalidating creatures is pretty terrible, pretty not interesting, not very fun. But really, it's just, again, it's kind of a stupid card. It is specifically with Grove of the Burnwillows. It honestly is like a fine card if Grove didn't exist, probably. Right. But the fact that its interactions with Grove are just like way too strong.
And it also, like, it's not just one Graveyard Hate. You need double Graveyard Hate to deal with this. And then that still doesn't deal with the fact that a lot of other copies.
Yeah, it would have to be Rip, like Rest in Peace or Doffy or something, but Doffy they can kill. Or like Sanctifier and Vec would obviously be a fine way to fight against this. But obviously, if you're playing against Punishing Jund, they're gonna have like Fatal. Well, I guess Fatal Push doesn't do it either. They have to have something else. But like Pyrite Spellbomb, they'll find a way. There would be ways to remove it. But yeah, I mean, just the value this card can generate is just absurd with Grove of the Burn Willows. So I think it should stay on the ban list. Not interested in punishing Jund existing or punishing Murktide or whatever deck would play it. Murktide would probably love this actually.
Oh yeah,
Thought Scour dumping this into the yard and then just getting it back. In addition, with everything else you're doing, bin it off a DRC and then buy it back. Yeah, just really, really bad news. Really bad news.
You want to talk about how good it is and that every time it leaves the isn't that every time a card instant or sorcery leaves the graveyard, you go and put a counter on Murktide.
Oh yeah. The synergy with Murktide.
Oh god,
insane, and the synergy with DRC, obviously, just getting to surveil every time you buy it back too. Yeah, it would be completely
you'll find
awful.
Another one and just bring them all back. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's just awful, just completely awful, terrible. Not interested in this at all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like I said, I understand. Like I said, I don't really have an opinion because I really didn't know much about the card, but I'm assuming you both are on the no.
Yes, I'm on the no.
Absolutely not. Should not be unbanned.
Okay. Next couple cards are similar. They're not the same card, obviously, but we'll go together. The first one's Rite of Flame. It's 1 red. Add 2 to your red to your mana pool. Then add a red for each copy of this card in your graveyard. The other one is Seething Song. It's 2 in a red, and you go ahead and add 5 red mana. This Seething Song's an instant. Rite of Flame is a sorcery. I honestly don't think we need to unban this. We already have enough of these like bullshit cards that add all this mana to your pool and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Storm has enough. They don't need anything.
This one too is incredibly broken because
it's in each graveyard. I did say in your graveyard. My apologies.
Yeah,
it's for each graveyard. That's probably not popping up, but
this card makes it possible to win games on turn 1. Storm can kill on turn 1 with this card. Imagine this scenario. Spire Bluff Canal, double Rite of Flame. So double Rite of Flame is going to essentially add 4 red to your pool.
Mm-hmm.
So you go Spire Bluff Canal, double Rite of Flame. You're at 2 on the Storm count. You're up to 4 red mana. Then you cast a Manamorphose to generate 2 blue. So you have 2 blue, 2 red. Then you go and play either Brawl or Electromancer. Doesn't matter which one. And then you just do the normal Storm thing. You just use your red mana to cast one of your 2 mana rituals or Seething Song. Seething Song's unbanned as well, generate 5 red. But we'll just say one of the 2 mana rituals. So they use a 2 mana ritual, and then they do the gifts and they just kill you. So literally that scenario right there. All it takes is 1 land, double Rite of Flame, and a Manamorphose, and we're killing on turn 1 potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Completely insane card. I mean, this card is so unbelievably busted. It is crazy. The fact that it generates more mana for every copy in each graveyard is just insane, man. I'm so pushed, so crazy. No interest in this being unbanned at all because of the scenario I just painted. I mean, turn 1 kills. We don't need consistent turn 1, and it would help obviously turn 2 kills too. So. Yeah, not interested in this being around at all. Obviously, that's a very basic scenario that I constructed too. I'm sure there are other messed up things that this card could do, and I'm not interested in seeing them at all. So
fair enough.
Yeah, I would definitely say keep this on the ban list, and Seething Song is also going to stay on the ban list for me for similar reasons. It just generates so much mana, and with a mana dude in play, I mean, it can just do some crazy stuff. So very, very disinterested in that one. Either of those being unbanned.
Yeah, like I said, I'm already said I don't want them unbanned. Dewey, did you want these unbanned?
No, I mean, there's a reason why they were unbanned after the first GP, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I don't remember.
It was banned very quickly because it just causes too many issues. We don't want it in format. It's too strong for a modern.
Right. And since it ain't the same card, it's probably not. let's talk about Simeon Spirit Guide real quick. This, you know what Simeon Spirit Guide does. It's, 2 in a red, 2/2, Ape Spirit. You also can exile it from your hand and add a red mana. Again, there's no world. You don't want to have free mana. Free mana's bad. Don't unban it.
Yeah, this card's terrible. Imagine Rhinos having this in Modern. No, thank you.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like a Legacy deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could potentially turn 1 Rhinos.
Yep,
Definitely could happen. And that sounds miserable.
sure does.
Yep, not ever going to agree that this is good to go. So we'll go ahead and move on from the Simeon Spirit Guide. The other one is Sensei's Divining Top. 1 generic artifact. It has one generic activation. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. It also has tap, draw a card, put Sensei's Divine Top on top of its owner's library. Yeah, this card's just really good in Miracles, right?
Yep.
That's just the gist of it. It's really
It
good
also
in
just
Miracles.
takes too long, man. I mean, this card, the play experience of this card, dude, is just, it's so stupid, man. If you play against somebody who hasn't played a lot of Sensei's Divine, it's just so much decision making on every turn, and you can do it on, you just keep doing it, and it just really leads to crappy play experience in too many cases. It's another one of those things where, like Dewey alluded to earlier when he was talking about Second Sunrise, it's the same type of thing where we would just be going to time and rounds because people would just be spinning their tops, even when they don't need to spin their tops. They'd just be spinning their tops. We'd just be spinning tops for 30 minutes into time. It'd just be never ending. It'd be, just out of control, dude. People are just paying a mana and spinning just all day
You're
long.
out of control. You hear
They'd be
me?
spinning and our heads would be spinning because we couldn't get out of the round.
Because unlike MTGO, where you have your own personal clock, where you're burning your own clock to thing, and I don't care. If you just want to eat your own clock and make yourself waste time and then lose, go for it. But we don't have that luxury in paper, okay? And as a result, we're going to go past time because you want to go, oh, end of your turn, top. Yep, I'm going to take a look at this. Oh, upkeep, top, because I forgot what I'm going to top.
I want to re-spin my top because now that you've cast that spell, I want to change the order of my cards. It's really bad. It's awful. It would be even, we have fetch, with fetches and stuff, you get to reset the top spin. It's awful. No interest in this existing in Modern at all.
Keep it banned, period.
Yep, I'm on the same boat. Next card is Skull Clamp, another one generic artifact. This one's an equipment, however. Equipped creature gets +1, -1. When an equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards, and it equips for 1. What y'all thinking?
This card's egregious. Don't unban this. This card is so stupid. This card is just complete busted. Just absolutely ridiculous. There's no place for a card. This card is insane. Never unban this card.
It leads to the most ridiculous things, value engines that are being generated, draw values that are being generated. You just don't want it.
Yep, I don't really have much to say. I know this card is busted, and
We did a vintage spooky themed event for one of the local tournaments. That was 2 years ago, and the number 1 deck was just a Skull Camp deck because we didn't ban it. And it was awful, but it was fun outside of the player playing Skull Clamp. So I don't know.
Yep,
makes sense. We're about to talk about a card that's been the talk ever since it was banned. It's Splinter Twin time, guys. I'm gonna make my opinion on this first. This 100% should be unbanned. I am not convinced that it would even be a powerhouse in this format. It'd be good. I do think it'd be good. But powerhouse, I don't think so. I think it should be unbanned. Never played Splinter Twin, so it isn't a bias thing. I've never registered this deck a day in my life. But I wasn't confused once I realized why they banned it, because it was a big percentage of the meta. But I honestly think this deck could be unbanned. We have Teferi in the format now. That it would be a problem, Splinter twinning with Teferi, but also it's pretty good if you play Teferi against them. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steven. Give your opinion.
I actually was. I don't really like Splinter Twin that much. I'm actually fine with it not existing. I don't really like the fact that the Splinter Twin deck was kind of like this really good like tempo deck that also just had the I win button in it. And it would still do that now. Like you just alluded to, the deck would almost certainly be Jeskai, and it was some of the best builds were Jeskai back then. I'm pretty sure Jeskai won or got like second place at Jeep like one of the first GP Detroits that I went to back in like 2000 and
Yeah,
God, I don't even know.
the only Splinter twin I played against ever had a lightning helixes in them. So
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
they
Yeah.
were always
Yeah,
just guy I played
Jeskai was
against.
usually was typically a little better because they also got like Wall of Omens. So
Yeah,
they could like when they drew twin and didn't have combo, they would just twin up their wall and then start just cloning walls and generating a bunch of card advantage.
hmm
And obviously, yes, Lightning Helix. Now they would have 3 mana to Fairy, which they would just drool over. I mean, that would be just wonderful. Your opponent can't even interact with your twin combo because you have a Teferi in play. Um, and also Teferi would be able to generate value with Wall of Omens, like I was just alluding to before. Bounce, unsummon wall, draw a card, play it again, draw a card. Um, but yeah, so personally, I don't really. I'm fine with Twin staying on the ban list. I know that some people obviously love their Splinter Twin and want it back, but I get why it got banned. And I'm also very disinterested in people playing turn one Ragavan and then turn two Deceiver or Pestermite off of the treasure, and then attacking with Ragavan to get the fourth mana on the following turn, and then having infinite guys on your upkeep to tap your stuff and then killing you the following turn. So it'd be kind of killing you on turn three. Obviously not quite killing you on turn three, but they're tapping you out on turn three and then killing you on turn four. It just really, I'm disinterested in it. I don't want to see the world where Twin exists because I think it would be very good again. Um, because we already have like quite good blue red decks without Splinter Twin. And people would find a way to make it pretty ridiculous again. So I'm fine with it staying on the ban list. Dewey, what do you think?
I'm really split on this.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it comes down to what direction they want to take Modern.
Yep.
Because I want to say if they unban it now, I don't mind it. Because it offers a different playstyle to the blue-red Murktide deck, so you're seeing it right now with Ragavan, where it goes the more controlling route, plays somewhat of a tempo game, and then goes for the kill. If they want to slow down the format, then no, this card needs to stay on the ban list. If they want to offer another option to do it and the gameplay, then I'm fine with it getting unbanned because that's the route they want to go. But for me, it comes down to what direction do they want to go with Modern. And as we talked about just a bit ago, they haven't really talked about that. They haven't stated where they want to go with the format. And that's my biggest issue with all of this is that until they state where they want to go with this, I don't know how to say some of the answers to some of these. So,
Mm-hmm.
but as of right now, with the format as it is, I would be okay with it getting unbanned.
yeah, but like I said, I'm 100% on the unban it that train. I really don't think it needs to be banned. Um, I think it's perfectly fine to bring it back in because I think we will notice that it'll just be another deck in the fold.
Yep. And the thing that I also like about decks like this is that it makes you have to play a little bit differently. You have to then start respecting that they have options and could kill you. So I've always appreciated that to some extent. And I played during the Blu-ray. I mean, I played Modern since its inception. So, and I also played this deck during GPDC. I played Just Guy, Splinter Twin during that tournament, but the tournament before that, I played Tarmo Twin, so then I could make, that creature and smart smashing them. I was a fan of that setup, and I was a fan of all that. I was cool with it. But I totally get it. If it results in really bad gameplay, yeah, we don't want it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the next card that's on this list is something we could talk about bad gameplay, and that's Summer Bloom. There,
Yep.
I'm just gonna say, leave this on the ban list. We should just like ban it from all the Magic just because of all the damage it created. Yep, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. That card sucks. I don't want to see it ever again.
Yep, I agree. Leave it on the ban list. Card was terrible.
Yeah, awful. Only thing I'll say this is that I'm curious if the guy didn't cheat as heavily as he did with this card, how long it would have taken for this card to get banned.
Yeah.
Not saying it shouldn't get banned, just an interesting thought.
It is. It is for sure. But yeah, the card's pretty messed up. Yeah. On to the next one.
Yep, I'm on to the next one. Is Tibalt's Trickery. This made history of the quickest ban in the Modern from Standard.
Yeah, a wise man once said this card sucks. This card does suck. This card is ridiculous, disgusting. I hate this card in literally every time this card is cast against me in any format. I'm just like, what? Why? Why is this a thing? You know, I played against this in Historic a few times, testing for that the arena like open. This card's it's just so stupid, man. I just hate this card. As you've probably, as our listeners have probably found, is a common theme with me and a lot of these cards on the ban list. But yeah, this card, it just sucks. There's just nothing else to say. It's just such a dumb card. It doesn't make sense. The way it works is so silly. Just a horrible card. And yeah, like you said, there's a reason it's the fastest banned card ever out of Modern. So yep, leave it on the ban list. Terrible card. I'm hopeful that it doesn't make any noise in any other formats, and if it does, ban it there too, because it's just a garbage card. It's super annoying. So yep.
I think you want to ban more of an annoyance than it actually being good.
Yeah.
Well, it just leads to really, really bad play design, and
it's a terrible card.
It's one of those cards that it should have stated just one word change instead of saying controller to opponents. If it's an opponent's card, then you do it. If it's not, it doesn't do anything. Cool. It's a fine card at that point. Without it, awful card. Shouldn't exist.
Yep. All right, this one I don't think we're going to agree on, but I'm gonna kickstart. This is how do you say that first? Yumazawa's
Chite?
Yumazawa's Chite.
Chite.
I'm going to be on the firm believer this should be unbanned. I got a few reasons why. I've actually been planning on this one.
Love to hear it.
People want it banned because they're basing it on Legacy and the former block constructed and standard gameplay, where Modern is way different. I am convinced this deck might even get the slot over to Swords. Because, for one, we have Stoneforge, right. But Modern's creatures are way different than that standard format was at one time, and the block constructed format was that, where everybody's basing this off of. Majority of people, or most likely is they're based on Legacy, and Legacy's creatures are way different as well. If you look, Chite doesn't do anything against like any of the bigger creatures that's in Legacy, ever. And that's how it works. Is the card's really good against when you're going to lower to the ground creatures. But if you look at Modern, where is that really at? It might be able to kill some Darcys, but that's going to probably be around there. It'll kill some monkeys, it'll kill some Darcys. It's not killing Titans, it's probably not going to be killing many things out of swords, or not swords, hammers. Hammer's probably not going to get touched by this card. It's probably not even going to be good against Hammer. Let me think of some other top decks really quick. I'm trying to think off the top of my head of all the top decks that's in Modern right now. Like I said, it might be fine against Blue-Red, but that's fine if it's good against Blue-Red. And look at the decks that would be playing this. It's going to be the Stoneforge decks. Yep. That's their one. So it'll probably be like Taxes style decks. Right? So you're playing these Taxes style decks. It may be good in the mirror matches for Taxes. That's whatever. I'm okay with a card being good in a mirror match. But is it better than the swords that we could be playing? Because the creature base is just so much different. And also look at all the the main deckable hate that we have for this card that we didn't have back in those block constructed. We didn't have in that standard at that time. Like now we have decks that are playing mainboard Prismari commands. We have decks that are playing full 3 to 4 Force of Vigors in the sideboard, which are already coming in against these Stoneforge decks anyway. I don't know if Colligan's Command's getting much play anymore. I'm assuming if Black Red's still being played, is it in that Jund list?
It is.
Okay, it's in the Jund list. So you have Colligan's Command that isn't as heavily played, but it is played. So I personally think GTA would be fine. I think GTA's not even better than anything that we already have. I am not convinced this card should still be banned.
Interesting.
Yep, that is interesting. Yeah, I definitely disagree with the point that this would not be good against Hammer. It would be very good against Hammer if you're able to like actually set it up. You obviously have to like not die to the initial wave. You're gonna have to have like other pieces. But once you establish a hit with the jet, this literally kills everything in their deck. One thing they do have that would be good for them is being able to tutor up Pithing Needle with Urza's Saga. So obviously you have that. But if this were an Atax's deck, you can always wisp out the Pithing Needle and then start killing things again and things like that. And even if you can't activate it, you're still putting counters on it. But anyway, I think your argument definitely has some good merits to it. Obviously, Legacy and Modern are different beasts. GTA would be very, very dominant against any Ragavan deck. It would be insane against every deck playing Ragavan. It would be insane against Elementals, any creature deck, right? I mean, that's what GTA does. It beats creature decks. And it would also be super good against Burn because it gains you a bunch of life. I think this one's like, it's not as egregious as Punishing Fire, but it's a similar kind of card where it's gonna, if you're a Stoneforge deck, it's going to really, really kind of invalidate those creature decks. It's gonna make them much worse. I do think it's close to being able to be unbannable, but I personally still think it's probably a little too good. Could be wrong. But I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna go no on this one. I'd still like that one to probably not be an option. What do you think, Dewey?
It isn't as bad as Punishing Fire. It's not
No,
as
it's not.
free.
It's not.
The format is significantly creature heavy, which is very, very interesting to me. So it isn't as good there. For me, I think it results in a unban it and see how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is close because I am very fearful that it's gonna just end up right back on the banned list. I think it is that bad, but I would be willing to test it out. Is the thing.
Oh yeah, I'm willing. I'd be willing to test a lot of these cards out, but I think it would end up right back on the ban list, which is
very likely.
Why I'm saying no.
I think it's in the line where the same mindset people had with Jason Bloodbraid Elf, where they have a misconception on how the modern format currently is, and they turn out to not be as busted as people think because they're still living in the past, they're living in different formats.
Yeah.
And because it comes down to this. Can it be beaten if it's resolved? GTA can 100% be beaten almost every time if it resolves.
Oh, of course it can be beaten if it's resolved. I mean, a lot of these cards, like Oco, can be beaten if it resolved. But that's not necessarily the reason cards are not on the ban list, right? It's what are they going to do to the format and things like that?
Yeah.
Because Skull Clamp can be beaten if it resolves. It's just really hard, and
Sure.
I feel like creature decks are going to have a very, very hard time. Like I think about, for example, like Elementals, right? Elementals is a really sweet like creature deck. GTA is going to absolutely destroy what you are doing. It's going to really hurt what you are doing badly. If they get one hit with it, your first two Risen Rooks you play are just dead immediately. Furying a creature that is equipped is pretty much impossible because they can give it +4/+4, so they can get around the Fury. You can Solitude, obviously, but then they can move to something else. It's just it's one of those cards where it's going to, a lot of games are going to just end up revolving around the GTA specifically. Like
Who got
this
GTA first? Who got the trigger first? And they
right.
win.
The game will revolve around GTA specifically, like completely the GTA, the Stoneforge GTA versus, you know, whatever it's playing against.
Like I said,
which is why I think it should stay on the ban list.
I 100% am convinced that people are really comparing it to because it's what they're going to. They're going to compare it to what it did in that standard format at that time, that block form. And then they look over, they'll be reassured. They look at, what does it do in Legacy? But people also don't realize those formats can be more complete opposites than they already are.
Well, they definitely have some similarities, though, right now, right? Like, all the red decks are Ragavan decks in both formats. So, like, it's going to be insanely good against Ragavan.
Yeah, it'll be good against Ragavan,
which is quite popular.
Sure. So, to save Ragavan, we shouldn't unban it for one card.
No, but I'm just saying it would warp the format a lot.
Warp it just because it beats Ragavan?
No, warps it because
it beats all creature decks, not just Ragavan, but Ragavan was my example.
So this card's probably only going to be in Stoneforge decks.
You are severely underestimating what it would do to Modern, because a lot of Modern decks right now are creature decks. Like a lot of Modern decks are creature decks right now. It's
for sure
very heavy creatures,
but they're weaker creatures than what you see in Legacy typically. Because look at it like this. Let's look at a lot of the Legacy dies to a quick GTA getting some counters on it from the initial counters. Is there a majority of creatures, I would imagine, that die to that in Legacy?
Yes.
Because you got Death and Taxes, like almost everything's dying to a GTA if you get counters. Delver, majority. Darcy, you'll take maybe one more hit with it, but essentially it's going to, Delver, usually like GTA's pretty good against them, like, because you keep the creatures off the board.
Right.
So you got those, but then you got, and then obviously it's good in Legacy, because it's killing off the one that Duy plays. I can't think of the name of the card offhand right now. It's the snow card. There's what I'm saying. There's a bunch of 1/1s and there's a bunch of 1/1s and X2s in Legacy, but then when you get up against like the bigger ones. For example, I'm trying to think of like some bigger ones offhand. Euro's one example. It's never going to beat that card. Like anything with 6, it does nothing. That's one, for example. Once you get to those like bigger cards, and the thing is, I think since it's only being played in Stoneforge decks, how much warping is that really going to do if one deck is playing this?
Right.
It's one deck. I don't think, and giving a deck something to make it playable. I don't think that's the end of the world. Especially when the card ain't going to be as powerful as it once was. It'll still be powerful. I'm not making the argument that GTA is not powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to be as powerful as people think. Because, again, they are comparing it back to when it was originally in Standard. That's what you're going to. That's the nature of it, right?
Yeah, and they inherently do. They always think back to when it was legal before it got banned.
Yeah, because remember, they did the same thing. The same exact scenario happened with Jason Bloodbraid Elf and Stoneforge. Exact thing. They expected all those were going to be broken. They were going to break. Everything is going to be over. There's nothing we could do to stop it. What happened? Jace ends up being cut in most decks. It's like a 2-of in control decks now. It's not even the 4 of Planeswalker.
Pretty standard as control. And I mean, that's the case with Legacy too. Jace is generally a 2-of in those decks.
Exactly. And then Stoneforge, it's played, but it's not really a very good deck.
Yeah, I mean, it played in the number 1 play deck, but...
In what?
Hammer Time.
I don't even think of that deck as a Stoneforge deck. My bad. I don't ever die to Stoneforge.
To be fair, in your defense, it's not a traditional Stoneforge deck at all, but it is a Stoneforge deck.
It technically is because...
It is absolutely a Stoneforge deck, but it's not a normal Stoneforge.
Yeah, you're thinking like Stoneblade, Control-y...
I can promise... I think GTA would actually be sideboard of Hammer. It would not even be main board, by the way.
I get that. But yeah, that's why I agree with you. I think it should be unbanned, and we should test it out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cards that they should actually be bringing off and doing that more with. They need to follow the J Stoneforge model.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, after all this conversation, if we see some unbans in Q1 of next year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's some cards you can't do that with. Like, don't get wrong, I read some other people's unbanned like predictions for Modern, and
Wait, real quick. Should we go over the? There's only one card left, right?
yeah,
Should we cover the last card before we give our finishing thoughts on bans and unbans?
sure, yeah. Let's talk about this last card real quick.
Okay.
The last card is Euro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. For those that have been living under a rock, this is a one generic blue-green 6/6, and there's a battlefield sacrifice unless it was escaped. When there's a battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Then you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. The escape cost is double green, double blue, and you exile 6 cards from your graveyard. Or is it 5? 5 cards. 5 cards. I knew there was a 6. I was like, he was a 6 card. I'm just thinking about my when I'm counting all my stuff in the graveyard. But yeah, this card was banned not too long ago. It was fairly like recent, I would suppose.
Yeah. Yep.
This card's pretty good. So
Pretty good.
the card is good. I am still confused if it was like Modern ban worthy. I get why they did, but I've never like been fully sold if it was actually Modern ban worthy. I'd leave it on the ban list because I'm okay not ever playing against it again. I still am on the fence where I don't even. Part of me wants to say it ain't even ban worthy for Modern. It's just my opinion, but go ahead.
Fair enough. I think it is ban worthy for Modern. I agree with you. It's maybe somewhat close with Field of the Dead not existing because that combination of cards is definitely what did away with both of those cards. Those two being together. But that card is like, think about how good Kroxa is. Kroxa is like quite good in all these like Luris black red decks, and Kroxa is a lot worse than Euro. It's really not even close. Kroxa is very good, and Euro is just a step above Kroxa. Like whatever you consider Kroxa, Euro's on another level. Because Kroxa, once your opponent's hellbent, doesn't have any cards in hand, Kroxa's not really getting much value. It's getting 3 damage, but like 3 damage a lot of the time isn't backbreaking. It can be. But the Euro always generates a card and 3 life, and also typically is generating an extra land drop. All of those things together are just so ridiculous. So anyway, I think Euro's a little too good for Modern. It is close. I will give you that, but I think it's just that card again, just a little pushed. It's a little too pushed on that card. You could have taken away the game 3. You could have taken away the extra land drop, and you could have maybe taken away. You probably can't take away draw a card. I don't really like taking away draw a card, but take away one of the other 2, and that card would have been more reasonable. But as it is, I think it's just a little too much value, a little too powerful. So I'm going to say stay on the ban list.
I actually think you need to take the card draw away for that card to be reasonable, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, if you take away the card draw, the card's just not even good, is the problem.
The card does pretty bad.
Not even playable. Like, the problem, you have to, like, if you take away the gain 3 or the extra land drop, I think it may have been okay. It still may have been too good. But that gain 3, like, and the fact that you get it every time you attack, too, I mean, it's just, like, so much life. Like, there were a lot of games, like, where we were playing Standard with that, like, black-red deck, and we were playing against the stupid, the Wilderness Wreck deck, and we would literally get them down to, like, a very low life total, and then Euro would be what would end up actually taking away the game, not the Wilderness Reclamation half their deck. It'd be the Euro, and the life gain is what was usually, like, the most annoying, is because if they didn't gain that life, they were still dead, even if they had this 6/6. Obviously, there are other examples of this too, but that's just the one I'm thinking of. But I think if you take away the card draw, the card is just garbage. The card's not playable. So you can't take away the card draw, because then we wouldn't be talking about the card, not only because it's not on the ban list, but because it wouldn't be relevant.
Okay, what if we just took away the other 2 abilities and just only gave a card draw?
If it only drew a card, yeah, that maybe would have been okay. What you could have also done is that it doesn't get it when it attacks; it only gets it when it enters. That may have been
That
fine.
actually would be nice too.
We could have kept all the same wording, and not allowed it to get this trigger when it attacked. That may have been fine. But I'm curious what it would have been like with either out the life gain or without the land drop, because then obviously you don't have to take much away from Croxa either. They still, yeah. I'm curious what it would have looked like. But either way, doesn't matter. As it is, I think the card's a little too good. Who knows what balancing would have made it actually good and reasonable. It's pretty much impossible to know without testing that a lot. But as it is, a little too good.
I do think it's too good, but I do think they should have not banned it with the way they did it. Is my only issue.
There's another thing where they did it with Field of the Dead, right?
Yeah. Field of the Dead, Mystic Sanctuary itself, Simeon Spirit Guide, and Tabal's Trigger are all banned at the same time. That's my only issue with that. I wish they would have just banned Field of the Dead and Mystic Sanctuary, see where the Euro decks would have landed, and then, if they will still agree, just then ban it. That's my only thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that honestly, because I don't like the multiple bans from one deck. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Never been a fan of it. It's not what we're looking for out of Magic, in my opinion. So
let the deck breathe. You know.
Yep.
That's
you do targeted bans. You hit the deck. It's too strong. Then you hit it again. It's too strong. And you hit it again. But just to hit the deck the way they did it, yeah, too much.
right. Yep, and like I said, I'm on the same boat with you. Let's talk about our overall thoughts about the ban list currently. We talked about cards where whether we want them unbanned or we want them to stay banned. Some cards we all agreed on, some cards we didn't all agree. Some of us had different opinions. Steven, how about you?
Generally, I feel like most of the cards on the ban list belong on the ban list still. There are a few of them I think they could bring back, and they would actually not cause any issues, but they are very few and far between. I think that I think with a lot of cards, I'm certainly willing for them, if they were quick to action, I'm willing for them to take them off the ban list and see what the format would look like. But they better be quick to action if they completely destroy the format, because we don't need unplayable garbage formats for a prolonged period of time. So that's like the real issue with doing like an unban. They need to be quick to action, and they honestly need to be like straightforward with the player base too, and be like, look, this is kind of like a test run. We're gonna unban this, but if this completely ruins things, it's getting banned. So purchase this card at your own discretion, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess really that type of thing should go without saying, but it doesn't for a lot of people. And a lot of people would get really salty. But if they at least were very straightforward and said, look, if this is ridiculous, we're going to ban it again, then people at least had their warning. But as it is, I mostly like the ban list. I think most of it should stay as is. There are a few cards that I think could see an unban. And honestly, some of them were like a little bit of bias from myself too, Birthing Pod being one of them. I love Birthing Pod. I would like to see it unbanned because I think it's really fun to play with. But honestly, like, it's probably a little too good. So I think that was one of them that I said could be unbanned, if I remember correctly, on our episode last week. But most of these cards, I'm happy with where they're at. I think they should stay banned.
Dewey?
Yeah, overwhelmingly as well. I think most of them should stay banned. 1 to 2 cards I think should just be outright unbanned, and then 2 to 3 cards I think we could test. Is kind of where I'm at. But I agree with you. It should be we're gonna test this out. This card may be too strong, but we're gonna test this out and see if it is too strong. But we're willing to give it a try because we want to know if it is too pushed, or if the format can absorb it with the cards we've created. Modern Horizons 2 pushed the format really far in a good way. It's like the format feels great. So
yeah.
So, the first thing was, why can't they do? Because in Historic, right? They do this thing where instead of banning a card, they pretty much put it on a list where they're like, all right, it's not legal no more, but it's not technically banned. We're gonna visit this in like 60 to 90 days and decide if we're gonna keep it banned,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Suspending it.
Why not? Yeah, suspending it. Why don't we do that kind of thing for unbanning cards? And we're like, hey, we're gonna let this be legal for the next 60 to 90 days or whatever, or we'll say 30.
They
to
don't
60.
have to. They don't have to do a suspension banning or an unbanning. They can literally just say we're gonna unban this card, give their reasoning, and just see where it plays out. They don't have to give it a time frame or anything. Like look what Grave Troll. They unbanned it, tested it out, got a little too strong, banned it again. Now if they're trying to save face, for like integrity of some tournaments, I don't know. Like for me, I think they threw that out the window when they printed Modern Horizons 1.
Yeah.
So they said we're willing to print
Throne?
cards to push the format too far. So unbanning a card really isn't pushing it too far anymore. We've already got an entire format dedicated to that because they printed cards that were too pushed. So
Yep. I'll agree with you there. I also, based on the list, I personally think they should unban anything that's on the initial list, and they should just give them a try. Like anything that was on the initial list that's still on there that hasn't been unbanned at least once, just give it a try.
you realize a couple of those cards were cards that we outright said should stay banned, right? Like those were cards that we were like too strong.
I'm okay with this.
Good God.
Like, let's look at them, right? Let's look at them. Let's just take a gander.
The initial
real quick.
ones?
Oh my God, dude.
Chromox is fine.
No.
Dude, don't get me wrong, man. I'll have fun playing some of those decks. I will.
Okay,
I will absolutely
Metal Misstep would be a funny time, though.
Oh, dude. But I'll understand how stupid it is, too. I'll get real sick of it real fast. I'll have fun for a few matches,
I just want to play one drops.
And then I'll be like, okay, Wizards, please, God.
No,
put
you
these
guys are
cards
doing
back
it
on the
wrong.
ban list.
I'm going to play Chromox and nothing but 2 drops. They can't Metal Misstep anything.
Oh my God.
Am I wrong?
Dude, just Chrome Mox, Simeon Spirit Guide, Cast Shardless Agent.
No, Simeon
cast,
Spirit Guide can't be unbanned.
Oh, you're right, because it's not on the...
I said the initial. Don't get me wrong. We're gonna have some fun Hypergenesis games.
Yeah, we'll find plenty of busted things.
All you gotta do with Hypergenesis to turn it off, don't put anything in play.
Great.
See, let's see. And I'm saying that the cards that we're gonna unban them, but they can't have ever been unbanned. That's another stipulation. If they've already been unbanned and rebanned, they're dead.
Okay.
I honestly think the artifact lands would be fine the more and more I think about it. I'm really not.
They might be.
I
definitely might
actually
be.
don't think the artifact lands are that bad. I can't believe Bitter Blossom was on this list. That's stupid.
It's one of those initial cards, right?
I know. I think it's stupid, but here we are. Skull Clamp would be annoying, but I don't think it would be as bad as we think. It'd be more of an annoyance. Man, Glimpse is gonna suck, but I'm willing to take the sacrifice.
Dude, I do not want to live in the world. People can, especially Hammer Time, can saga up a clamp, dude. Oh my God, dude! I don't think you're understanding how ridiculous that card is, dude. I don't know how much you've played with Skull Clamp, bro, but
I've played a lot of Skull Clamp. I've played a lot of Skull Clamp, my friend.
You're really not opening up your mind for how ridiculous that crap would be with Pure Steel Paladin too. Just free moves. Move it over to this Memnite, draw 2. Play another Memnite, free move it over, draw 2. Just basically draw your entire deck. Animate the Ink Moth to itself, equip it over for free, draw 2.
Oh, you're losing value then.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, losing value for sure. Yeah, definitely losing value.
But no, realistically, like there's some sweet cards I would like to see them come back. But I think there's some cards on there I still question their printing design, like Summer Bloom. That's like the top of my list. You guys don't understand how many times I just sat there and did nothing while they're just going off with Summer Bloom.
That's fair. Yeah, I was wondering. I find it funny that Summer Bloom is like your most like.
That is Splinter Twins
Summer Bloom,
together,
like
right?
I get it. The card is pretty dumb, but it's dumb because of other cards that exist. there are some cards on this list that are way more offensive than Summer Bloom. Personally, to me,
Mhm.
they're bad alone card
So,
design.
in Modern, I don't like dying on like turn 2s and things like that.
No, I hear you.
And
Sure.
when I was playing Bring the Light Skate Shift because it was really good against Splinter Twin because
Yeah.
those are the two decks at the point essentially.
Okay.
Splinter Twin was the number 1 play deck, and that's why I played Bring the Light Skate Shift. Guess what Bring the Light Skate Shift can't beat? They're not being at turn 2. Tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't beating none of that. So we got smacked around. It was a good time. We all had fun. But yeah, I hate Summer Bloom. I don't think I can let y'all know that. But there's some sweet cards. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to a point where Ayavugan's fine. We're not there
Unlikely,
yet.
but okay.
We're not there yet.
Not
I
even
don't know when
close.
we'll ever be there. I hope we never get there. That's not going to be a
The
good
card that consistently top 7s out of the top 8. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see the issue here. If we want to go back and like do a history lesson, so during Eldrazi Winter, the SEG event before GP Detroit was here before the week after. I want to say it was the week before. Yeah, it was the week before. So that Open Affinity one was just farming on the Eldrazi decks, and then you go to GB Detroit, and Abzan Company won the event. So, just saying, it shouldn't have been banned. It was beatable. It was beatable, guys.
Fair. It was beatable.
Yeah, you could beat it.
Yep, so that means it should be unbanned.
Just like how, when Fairies was in standard and dominating the format, it was beatable. So didn't need anything justice with it at all.
Oco was beatable.
I don't
Yep.
think Oko should have been banned in standard, bro.
You're a psychopath.
What did he do?
You're a psychopath.
I am. But
Actual psychopath.
But yeah, before we put a bow on this episode, just to confirm, next week we're going to have Adam Love on the show, and we're going to be going ahead and talking some legacy with him a little bit. It's going to be more of a debate show than anything.
Yep.
It'll be a
Gonna
fun.
be fun.
It'll be a fun.
We should finalize our moderation rules to that before we start that up, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll have the rules made up. That's going to favor Larry by the next time we do the show.
Yep, great.
No, we're gonna find out, and we're gonna have some fair moderation rules. I'd prefer that we actually talk with him. I think everybody should be on the same page.
Yep,
I think it's
I
the only
agree.
fair thing to do, because I want this. It's just gonna be a nice little. It's gonna be a discussion at the end of the day. There might be moments where it might get a little heated, because I know I'm gonna try to make it heated because it's pretty fun to me.
Which is why we should have rules in place.
Not heated like we're gonna seriously be mad at each other at the end of the day. We're not gonna go like presidential debate style.
Hey man, I'm willing to be a moderator on a presidential debate.
Ooh, Dewey being the moderator. He's gonna be like that moderator I got ran over in the first one, Steven.
Absolutely not. I will mute you.
Damn. Too bad I do the
You're
recording
moderating.
on my side. Ha ha ha. But no, all jokes aside, it's gonna be a fun conversation. Also, we're gonna have Gavin on the show in the next few weeks. Steven knows Gavin. I've already reached out to him, and we're also gonna work on getting some more fellow Swish members. So that's all something we're gonna be able to look forward to in the future.
Very good.
But needless to say, I don't have anything else to say. In 2 weeks,
Neither
we're
do I.
also going to go back and revisit some more ban lists. We'll either be doing Legacy or Pioneer. We'll be doing one of the two.
Sounds good.
We'll see as that time comes. But until next time, it's been Larry, Steven, and Dewey. We thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you guys later.
See you next time.
Have a great one.